Let's start settling down. Whosoever wants coffee, because coffee will be winding up soon, and we are starting with the proceedings. Please grab your coffee and book your chairs, settle down. बस वाइंड अप लेट हो गया यार उधर मिनिस्टर वेट कर रहा है रात में आएंगे यार अभी अभी मेरे को तंग मत करो बस Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please settle down. We are starting with the proceedings. Good morning. My name is Anilesh Mahajan. I'm a journalist by profession, and I'll be taking you around the entire day into this wonderful conversation on Bharat Climate Forum. A special focus is on the climate technology manufacturing. And the idea is that how we can achieve the net zero with the Atmanirbharta or self-reliance. For the inaugural sessions, we have with us Dr. Ashwini Mahajan. Dr. Ashwini Mahajan is national co-convener of Swadeshi Jagran Manch, and he is also mentor and part of the board of governors of CIEU. Suman Sinha is chairman Renew, and he is co-chair of Bharat Climate Forum. Mr. N.K. Singh, chairman of Bharat Climate Forum. Mr. Singh, Mr. Singh is a former Rajya Sabha MP. He was a distinguished bureaucrat and chairman of 15th Finance Commission. And for the first time, he brought in the cleaner aspect into the very crucial document of Finance Commission's report, 15th Finance Commission's report. Ms. Meenakshi Lekhi, former External Affairs Minister of Government of India, and she is also convener of Bharat Climate Forum. And we will be joined through web link by Ashwini Vaishnav. He is country's railways, mighty information and broadcast minister. And incidentally, he is also a co-founder of CIEU, former co-founder. So let's start the proceeding. May I request the dignitaries to come over the stage? Dr. Ashwini Mahajan, N.K. Singh ji, Mr. Sinha. Okay, just. ठीक है done. Okay. So the message was from the minister. He is also logging in. So sir, we always start the proceeding by taking the Almighty's name. So the lamp is here. We all, as a Hindu believe that the light is the source of energy. And since the proceeding is also about energy, and largely about the nature, solar as well as wind. So maybe we start the proceeding with the lighting of the lamp. Hotel staff, can you help us in arranging the lamp? Jagjit, take Henrik and Gaurav also too. Henrik, you will have a feeling of the Hindu practices. So in the name of God, we are starting. We are in a very sweet spot where we all have an aspiration of becoming a developed economy by 2047. The Prime Minister has given us some figures that it should be around $45 trillion. Right now, we are somewhere around 4 trillion. So 10 times we have to grow in next 2 decades. And there is another coupling uh, aspiration that we have to be net carbon zero by 2070, and we all aspire that we want to achieve this much before that. And there is another statistic which we all are adding, that by that time we will be adding roughly around 500 million of population as well. So it will be a huge chunk of people who will be living in the geographical areas of India, aspiring to become more developed. And clean tech is part of their aspirations, because if you create a manufacturing capacity in India for the new age, cutting edge climate initiatives, you have to create more wealth as well as more jobs in India. So with all these aspirations and with the ambitions, we all are starting with the Bharat Climate Forum. To take you a bit more into the conversation, may I request Jagjit Sareen, is global partner of Dalberg. Dalberg is co-host with CIEO for this Bharat Climate Forum. He'll give you a brief about the initiative as well as the opportunities in India. Jagjit.
Thank you, Anilesh. Good morning, everyone. As he mentioned, my name is Jagjit Sareen. I co-lead our global climate practice at Dalberg Advisors. Just maybe a shameless marketing plug, who we are, Dalberg Advisors. We are a management strategy consulting firm founded by our chairperson, Henrik, who's sitting right here in front row, and now led by Gaurav Gupta, who's a global managing partner. We work in advising our clients on strategy for impact. We don't take up any assignment where the impact definition is not very clear. And that is the motivation with which we shook hands with CIU to drive this agenda on climate. Before I, again, talk about substance, I want to start with, 3 thanks to you all. And first is, thank you all for being the leaders and champions of action on climate change. I see so many friends, colleagues, seniors, leaders sitting here on the dais and in audience, and you being the CEOs, thought leaders, practitioners, financiers, bankers, are actually doing the real work on the ground. And a big thank you to you. And the other 2 thank yous are a bit on the lighter vein. You braved the fog, the cold, to come here on time and support us as we start this journey together. And third thank is to our friends and colleagues who actually made it happen. Our partners, who are our knowledge partner, our sponsors, and everyone sitting here who actually made it happen. So big thank you to you all. People say you thank at the end, but I want to start with this thank in the beginning, because that's how we came together on this journey. And trust you me, this is the start of it. The way is only up on this. Now, a bit about opportunity and why we have picked up manufacturing and indigenization of manufacturing as the agenda for the Bharat Climate Forum as we begin this journey. 2 months back, I think in October, we came together in a small group setting. Again, many of the leaders are sitting here who guided us in this crowded space of climate where, every day there are at least 20 events in India on climate, all very serious people talking about how to take this forward. What is the push we are missing perhaps, or we need to double down? And when we looked at the ambitions of Bharat, the efforts being taken, one thing which to us, as we call in consulting space, white space, is the push on manufacturing. While we have seen the PLI scheme, the production link incentives, and various other schemes, FAME and others, I think what is needed is much more bigger and bolder. The dependencies are huge. We all know the constraint it causes. But I think more importantly, the opportunity, the economic opportunity, indigenization of manufacturing that will bring to Bharat, the job opportunities for young professionals who are aspiring to have a cleaner and greener path and which pays well and which they can be very proud of. And finally, a very confident Bharat, which is not dependent with its strategic vulnerabilities to outside. But what we together are articulating from the outset is an India Plus strategy. And by that we mean it's for everyone to rise together in this. India would project itself to be a key player, but in partnership with others. So essentially, the push here is to explore what is missing on the manufacturing of clean tech across different sectors, and we have started with 6 sectors in mind. There are 9 roundtables which would be held concurrently, and the recommendations would be brought in the valedictory session. And we would have the key strategic issues teased out during the plenary session, which you all will participate. We will run this platform for another few years. These things take time, and we have all the wisdom and patience with us in our leadership to drive this agenda together. And with these words, I will welcome you again. You will hear all of us to share our insights during the day, but this is just the start. We wanted to start together on this journey and help each other, advise each other as we build a better, greener, stronger Bharat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jagjit, for setting the context. Let's start the proceeding. We have with us Ashwini Vaishnavji. He is country's railways, IT, and INB minister. And we proudly say that he is one of the founding pillars of CIEU. Before joining his ministerial assignment, he was part of us. Is logged in. And many of the conversations which we now are having about the clean tech, they were initially started by Ashwini Vaishnavji when he was part of CIU. And many of those discussions became part of semiconductor policy of Government of India. Just okay. And I'm sorry, as India is, the IT connection of IT minister failed. So he's again logging in. Ashni bhai, welcome.
Anilesh bhai, how are you?
I'm good, ji, good. Thank you that you have taken your time out, and I can see you are, still traveling, but you have agreed, and I'm really grateful. Thank you. So on stage we have with us Dr. Ashwini Mahajan, Suman Sinha, N.K. Singh ji, and in the front rows we have Henrik. Henrik is the founder, chairman of Dalberg. Ram Madhav ji, he's senior lighting force of RSS as well as BJP. Then Bhupender Bhalla ji is around. He's former MNRE secretary. Rajneesh Kumar ji, former State Bank chairman. Many of the dignitaries are part of the conversation today. Girish Tanti ji is also here from Suzlon. So, Ashini ji, mic is now your, Minister Saab. We are all eager to hear you.
Thank you very much, Anilesh ji, and thank you, Ashwini Mahajan ji, Ram Madhav ji, Suman Sinha ji, Meenakshi Lekhi ji, Derek, all the friends on the dais, and all the dignitaries joining this program. Actually, I am in one of the functions where the Make in India and the Atmanirbhar Bharat is basically the objective of this visit. Just visited a plant which will be manufacturing the forged wheels for high-speed trains and high-strength locomotives, where it will be make for India, make in India, and make for the world. 2,20,000 wheels per year, which 80,000 will be used in India and rest will be exported. So I'm so glad to be part of this function from a location where Atmanirbharta is being reflected, actually being implemented. I also see Dr. N.K. Singh ji. Thank you very much for always guiding us, Singh sir. Um, I hope you're able to hear me. This is on the move, so maybe bit of
Yes,
disturbance would be
we
there.
can hear you, Ashini. We can hear you.
Perfect. So, friends, I would like to make just three points and would just simply like to share the experiences that we have. See, when we talk of Atmanirbhar Bharat and we talk of Make in India, talk of developing technologies, there are certain factors and especially a mindset which I believe is very important. The mindset of being able to do something, being able to excel in something, being able to compete with the world, that mindset requires a lot of discipline, that requires a lot of patience, that requires meticulous follow up, that requires problem solving. I think that is what makes a very big difference when we go out and go out and try and make something new. I'll give the example of two projects. One is the 4G, 5G telecom stack. When we started the 4G, 5G telecom stack, our Prime Minister was very clear that we must develop it in India. We took we created a structure where basically the partnership is between a government company and a private sector participant. CDOT is the government player in this, and Tatas are the private sector participant. Now, um, the challenge was very big. It was a humongous challenge. Creating a 4G telecom stack which will compete with Huawei, ZTE, Samsung, Nokia, and Ericsson. This was something which even many rich countries and countries which are far ahead of us in terms of per capita, in terms of technological progress, they also attempted and they failed. They could not really do this. So when we took up this challenge, the mindset that we had was that come what may, whatever be the difficulties, we will create this system and we will excel in it. Whatever problems come on the way, we will solve them. And I'm so glad to share with you that some of the decisions that we took during that entire process, for example, virtualizing the entire radio access network so that you can have multiple players who join the same core and it becomes interoperable rather than having a vendor tied kind of architecture. Those are the things which the entire world has taken note of, and today the entire system is rolled out on about 60,000 towers. And as it is getting rolled out further, it's getting more stable. And I can say with a lot of joy and happiness that our Prime Minister's initiative of creating this technology has today reached a level where within next few years, we can actually think of exporting the 4G and 5G telecom stack. And that has given us the confidence that we can start doing 6G also. So that's the question of mindset which I wanted to share with all of you. The second example is Vande Bharat. Again, it was a very difficult task to do because a train of this capacity, a train of this speed potential basically means you are running a power plant of 10 megawatt power generation capacity at a speed of 160 kmph. Imagine that kind of challenge. So that challenge, meeting that challenge requires a lot of mechanical work, a lot of electrical, a lot of vehicle electronics, a lot of dynamically integrating all the subsystems, testing, multiple things were involved. But I'm so glad that the train became successful. Again, this was primarily because of the mindset. Our Prime Minister has a very famous quote, mind is never a problem, mindset is. So when there is a mindset of excellence, mindset of Atmanirbharta, mindset of creating something new, mindset of trying, out of 10 things we'll fail in 5, doesn't matter, but we at least continue to try and improve. That's the mindset which I thought I'll share with all of you. The second point basically relates to collaborations. Every big work requires multiple partners, multiple collaborations, multiple ways by which people work on the same problem in different parts of the problem. So this is the approach we again took in most of the work that we have done. For example, in case of our semiconductor technology, getting the technology in India. When we decided the India semiconductor program, our Prime Minister was very clear that we must have a 20-year roadmap. We should not think of scheme of 1.5 years, 2 years, 5 years. We should look at a 20-year roadmap and use that roadmap to develop the semiconductor industry in our country. That required a huge set of collaborations with multiple stakeholders. As you all know, a semiconductor plant requires about 250 different types of chemicals and gases and a variety of ultra pure materials. So getting all of them into our country, making sure that they can successfully manufacture the subcomponents and the gases and the chemicals and handle them with a lot of care and precision, that required lots of collaborations, that required lots of partnerships with whole different kind of global value chain or the global supply chain. People from Japan, people from Taiwan, people from South Korea, people from Europe, people from US, the equipment manufacturers. I mean, the precision which is required can sometimes be phenomenally difficult because let's say if the machines which go into the clean room, if the road condition is bad, then the alignment of the machines can get disturbed. So you require a lot of collaborations with the state government also. If the power supply has even a very small little frequency variation, that can cause the entire batch of production to go waste. And so it requires a lot of collaboration with the electrical power company. So I would like to say that when we talk of Atmanirbharta, when we discuss Make in India, when we discuss developing technology, first, mindset is very, very important. Second, being able to collaborate with the wide range of players, wide range of contributors, that's again a very, very important point. The third thing which distinguishes our country vis-a-vis many other countries is the frugal mindset that we have. We are able to design and develop systems which are not as good looking, maybe the finish might be different, but the technology, if it is good, if the base of the technology is very good and the product is frugal, then we can withstand the global competition in a much better way. Frugal designs, matching that with excellent level of technology can really make a big difference. I'm just seeing a big wind blade, which is there on the road by my side. Again, these are the examples which show that our country can design, our country can design new technologies and be competitive while being frugal, still deliver a world-class thing. I thank Ashwini Mahajanji and Leshji for doing this great program where thinkers, some of the best thinkers in the world are assembled here. I hope we'll come out with very actionable recommendations out of this conference. I wish you all great deliberations, and thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for patiently listening from a bit different and a bit distant location. Thank you so much. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mantriji. You know, there has to be a more thunder of applause for Ashwini Vaishnav ji. This shows his commitment towards Atmanirbharta, that he is traveling and still taking time out to, deliver his inaugural address. And I can assure you, there is nobody more committed for Atmanirbharta than Ashwini Vaishnav. Thank you, Minister Saab. Thank you very much. So let's move ahead, and may I invite Dr. Ashwini Mahajan, if he can come and give his welcome address. Dr. Ashwini Mahajan.
Respected N.K. Singh ji, our dear friend Sumant Sinha ji, members from the industry, thought leaders, and those who are very much interested in making India Atmanirbhar in everything, including climate change technology. We understand that climate change technology is climate change is a reality now. पहले थोड़ी दुविधा थी कि क्या वास्तव में क्लाइमेट चेंज हो भी रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है, लेकिन it's a reality now, and now the need is to save the humanity from this menace. We understand that because of the technological developments in the past 1 century, we have been making our earth more and more unlivable, and fossil fuels for electricity, for vehicles, for running machines, for and even making use of the fossil fuels to compensate for our mismanagement. I mean the shortage of electricity for no reason. Now we understand that EVs, solar, hydrogen, and number of other technologies are very much on the table, and they can provide us a solution. But आज जो हम देख पा रहे हैं दुनिया भर में, अभी हम बात कर रहे थे कि डावोस में अब क्या होने वाला है, तो सुमन जी ने एक कैन आई कोट दैट कि सुमन जी ने एक बात कही कि डावोस की जो मार्जिनल यूटिलिटी है, हम सब इकोनॉमिक्स के स्टूडेंट हैं, तो मार्जिनल यूटिलिटी इज कमिंग डाउन डे बाय डे. इसका मतलब क्या है कि अब डावोस में जाने की किसी लोगों को कोई बहुत आकर्षण नहीं है, क्योंकि वहाँ कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा है. अब नाउ टॉक्स आर गोइंग ऑन दैट यूएस में विड्रॉ फ्रॉम द पेरिस एग्रीमेंट. तो क्या होगा? और अगर हम जब भी कॉप सम्मेलनों में जाते हैं तो वहाँ सब लोग अपनी टेक्नोलॉजी बेचते हुए दिखाई देते हैं. Nobody is bothered about what is happening to the humanity, but they should benefit from the technology they possess. हमने इससे पूर्व में भी देखा है, जब पूरी दुनिया में एक ऐसा संकट सा आ गया था कि लगता था कि क्या दुनिया में ह्यूमैनिटी बचेगी भी कि नहीं बचेगी. कोरोना के समय में, उस समय भी कंपनियां दे वर नॉट रेडी टू गिव अप देयर पेटेंट राइट्स, हमने बहुत फाइट किया, पेटेंट फ्री वैक्सीन होनी चाहिए, पेटेंट फ्री मेडिसिन होनी चाहिए. ड्यूरिंग कोरोना पीरियड दे वर नॉट विलिंग. We fought but were unsuccessful. But this is the time now. The whole world is trying to sell their climate change technology to us. They want us to remain nirbhar on them, remain dependent on them. But this big gathering from different industries, from different thought leaders, is an indicative of the fact that now India is ready. India is ready to become Atmanirbhar in climate change technology. And for this reason, we are all have assembled here. We had been talking with different companies कि वो ईवी में क्या कर रहे हैं. तो पता लगता है कि धीरे धीरे करके हम इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा आत्मनिर्भर होने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. हम सोलर में ज़्यादा आत्मनिर्भर होने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. कोई ज़माना था कि हम सोलर में 100% विदेशों पर निर्भर थे. आज हम कम से कम 80% निर्भर हैं. एक ज़माना था कि हम विंड टेक्नोलॉजी में भी पीछे थे, लेकिन मुझे याद पड़ता है कि अटल जी के ज़माने में जब विंड टेक्नोलॉजी की बात आई, विंड पावर की बात आई, तो उस समय टैरिफ्स को बहुत रिड्यूस कर दिया गया था बहुत पिछली सरकारों के द्वारा. तो उस समय स्वदेशी जागरण मंच ने मार्जिनल इंक्रीज करवाया टैरिफ्स में, और उसका असर ये है कि टुडे इंडिया इज़ एटलीस्ट 58% सेल्फ रिलायंट इन विंड टेक्नोलॉजी, विंड पावर टेक्नोलॉजी. हमें बहुत सारी चीज़ों को देखना पड़ेगा. केवल कहने भर से हम आत्मनिर्भर नहीं बन पाएंगे. उसके लिए एक वृहत मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पॉलिसी की ज़रूरत होगी. उस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पॉलिसी में वुड बी नीडिंग डिफरेंट कंपोनेंट्स, चाहे वो टैरिफ है, चाहे वो हमें क्वालिटी कंट्रोल के माध्यम से रोकना पड़े, या भारत सरकार के द्वारा जो खास तौर पर जो इन्वेस्टमेंट में रुकावटें आती हैं, बिकॉज ऑफ द हायर रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, बिकॉज ऑफ अदर रीजंस, बिकॉज ऑफ द लैक ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस इन आवर इंडस्ट्री, वी हैव टू वर्क टुगेदर. इस समय डाइवर्स नीड्स हैं, लेकिन हमें ये भी ध्यान में रखना होगा कि डिफरेंट तरह की लॉबीज भी काम कर रही होती हैं. हम ईवी में जा रहे हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं दूसरी लॉबीज भी काम करती हैं, जिसमें ऐसा कहा जाता है कि इतना बड़ा सेगमेंट है, इतने लोग बेरोजगार हो जाएंगे अगर हम ईवी में चले जाएंगे, तो हमें उस टेक्नोलॉजी में कुछ इम्प्रूवमेंट करके काम करना चाहिए. आई मीन कि हाइब्रिड टेक्नोलॉजी जैसी कोई चीज़ या कुछ और चीज़ें हम डेवलप कर सकते हैं. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि व्हाट इज़ बेस्ट फॉर द ह्यूमैनिटी, व्हाट इज़ बेस्ट फॉर द कंट्री, व्हाट इज़ बेस्ट फॉर द पीपल ऑफ दिस कंट्री, हमें वो टेक्नोलॉजी को लाना है. आज के इस पूरे दिन के इस मंथन में जो निकलेगा, समुद्र मंथन में तो अमृत भी निकला था और विष भी, लेकिन इस मंथन में से केवल और केवल अमृत निकलेगा, ऐसी अपेक्षा करते हुए मैं अपना विषय यहाँ समाप्त करता हूँ. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, Ashwini ji, for giving us the broad contours that how we can achieve Swadeshi or self-reliance. Now may I request Suman Sinha. Suman Sinha is chairman of Renew, and he is one of the guiding lights of solar industry as well as wind industry, one of the largest player in renewable energy space. Welcome, Suman.
Thank you for that, Anilesh. Mr. N.K. Singh, whom I've known for many, many years, Mr. Ashwini Mahajanji for his intellectual leadership that he provides to the country, Anilesh and Jagdeep for having arranged this extraordinary function, And I say extraordinary for a good reason. I think this is the first time that we've really had a very focused climate forum that is focused on a specific area within the whole climate spectrum, which is really how to really make India a much stronger powerhouse in the years to come in this area. Now, when I look at the topic of the Bharat Climate Forum and look at the aspect of Atmanirbharta and domestic manufacturing, I think the first aspect of that that we need to recognize is that if you look at just the entire energy space, India today imports close to anywhere between 150 to $200 billion worth of energy every year. So the first thing that we need to do is to make sure that becomes as much domestic as possible. And in that context, we have to look at the Prime Minister's call to make sure that going forward, we have, at least on the electricity side, as much coming from within our borders through renewable energy as possible. And I think if you understand the call to increase the capacity of renewable energy to 500 gigawatts, in that light, I think it becomes clear that there is not just an issue of climate involved here, there's also an issue of national security and Atmanirbharta that is deeply embedded in this thought process. So I think that is one aspect that we tend to focus on less, but it is equally very important to be seen in that light. The second area, which is the area of manufacturing, which is the more obvious area to look at. In that, I must say that India has taken a very, very, I would say, enlightened position. And the reason I say enlightened is for the following factors. We all know that most of the clean tech supply chain currently globally is sitting in China. And the scale that the Chinese have developed and evolved over the years, I would say very proactively, it has become enormous. And the ability that they have to manufacture at scale and manufacture at cheap cost is something that the rest of the world has not been able to compete with. And that is why 80 to 90% of almost the entire clean tech supply chain is now sitting in China. Whether you look at solar panels all the way back into polysilicon, whether you look at battery cells, whether you look at electric vehicles, a lot of the manufacturing is right now sitting in China. And it's now got to a point where if any country decides to get into manufacturing, the Chinese have a very proactive policy of really bringing their prices down even further so that it becomes hard for fledgling and new industries in new countries to be able to compete. What this requires, therefore, if any country wants to indigenize manufacturing, is it needs very clear policies which state very actively that the country wants to have domestic manufacturing. And that's a view that the Prime Minister took or has taken in India over the last several years, and which is why you see that now there is a very active solar manufacturing industry that is developing. Wind turbines, we've always been manufacturing in India for many years. Most of the component industry in the wind industry is also got now localized. But in solar panels, right now, we started with restricting imports of modules. Now we've restricted imports of cells. And eventually, the idea is to go further back up the value chain and make sure that the entire industry of solar manufacturing also gets set up in India. And this is not an easy proposition from a policy standpoint, because you don't want to essentially impact new installations happening of solar panels in the country, because you obviously have to keep taking that up as well. So in the process of making sure that more and more installations of solar panels happen in India, at the same time you're trying to make sure that the manufacturing also moves to India without any disruption, with multiple players and a very competitive environment. And that is something that the Indian government has been moving forward on very progressively and very smartly so far. At the same time, the whole idea of the PLI scheme for both cells, the battery cells, as well as for solar manufacturing, I think has been able to make sure that our cost of productions stay somewhat lower so that the end cost to the consumer is kept within manageable levels. So I would say all of this has emerged and is in the process of emerging right now. And when I look at what India has done with this very clear-eyed set of policies which are really giving us visibility as an industry for investing in the future, and when I compare and contrast that to what other countries around the world have done, i.e. the US or even Europe, I see that there's a very clear differentiation in how well India has been or is managing the process compared to how those countries are looking at it. Their intent is also to have domestic manufacturing, but they've actually, unfortunately, not come out of the right sets of policies to make that happen. And so they're really struggling with this whole question right now of dependence on China versus, trying to manufacture locally, but there's not enough policy incentive, policy direction given to local manufacturers to actually do anything about it. So I think this is something that India has taken a lead on. And I would say that over the next 5 to 7 years, India will emerge as a very clear option and alternative with a very strong domestic, robust manufacturing industry across different parts of the value chain in clean tech, and really emerge as a competitor to China for the exports to the rest of the world. So I think we really have that opportunity right now to set up this industry in a much broader sense than just looking at the 500 gigawatts of renewable energy capacity, which is something that we're all now very well aware of. So I think in that context, Bharat Climate Forum, debating that, setting a base for it, making sure that there's good industry-government collaboration, and that we start really thinking about this whole issue about the green industrial policy, I think is extremely, extremely positive, and I really commend Nilesh and Dalberg for, again, having put this whole thing together, along, of course, with Ashwini ji. So thank you all very much, and I look forward to the deliberations of today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumant. Thank you very much. Now may I request Shri N.K. Singh ji. N.K. Singh ji is chairman of Bharat Climate Forum, very distinguished bureaucrat. He worked with the best of the ministries. He was part of Prime Minister's office during Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji's time, and chairman of 15th Finance Commission, former member of Rajya Sabha, and now he's part of CIU as Board of Governors. So may I request, with a thunder of applause, please welcome Mr. N.K. Singh.
Well, thank you very much. First, I'm indeed very grateful to be given this opportunity to share some of my ideas on a subject, I think, which is of continuing challenge and will be a continuing challenge for a long time to come. From this point of view, the constitution of this climate forum is very, very appropriately timed for three important reasons. First and foremost, the enveloping global uncertainties are getting worse every day. We may wish it over, but the reality remains that for those of us who have been engaged, and I have been an old sinner in this whole climate thing, I'm calling myself a sinner because I had the fortune or misfortune of attending the whole inception of the COP process when in long ago, part of the Kyoto Protocol and in the deliberations in the Rio de Janeiro, which was at that time in the very early phases of the COP getting started. From that point of view, we have now witnessed the recent COP29 in Baku as we prepare ourselves to the COP30 to be taking place in Brazil. While all this scenario is going on, of course, you have very important powers which have shown greater skepticism on the science and the scientific work behind climate itself. So from that point of view, I believe that looking at all these global uncertainties, looking at the fact that multilateral institutions, including important entities like the WTO, which organizes the trade and will therefore deal with this whole issue of border carbon tax adjustment, the uncertainties are very, very large. So as I look back on my roughly 25 years of engagement on this issue of climate, what are some of the broad pictures and themes which would come to my mind? First and foremost, if I were to use an English expression, I would say that the issues of climate is like a will-o-wisp. It's a will-o-wisp because you are perhaps chasing shadows, and as you begin to identify one, the scene has changed somewhere else. From this point of view, a set of policies which are coherent has remained increasingly more and more elusive. Take some examples of how elusive it is. In 2015, the world took upon itself the obligation of the Paris Pact, which had the basic purpose of nationally determined contribution. I agree with Ashwani ji and with some of the other speakers that we have made formidable progress in not only adhering, but also in undertaking very, very ambitious nationally determined contribution, as also committing ourselves to becoming net zero by 2070. The world in general, which had an earlier start than us, is committed to doing so by 2050, and so 2070, from our point of view, is quite reasonable. But having said this, along with the International Solar Alliance, about which I'm sure that all of you would be aware of, I'm sure that Sumant would be alluding to our membership of the International Solar Alliance and where that Solar Alliance has taken us so far. Now, in the light of this, there have been progress, but nonetheless, external sources of finance have been exceedingly elusive. Consider the long time ago when the world took upon itself a commitment to do $100 billion a year. Now, I was told by some quirk of arithmetic that we at long last reached it only last year, and that we applauded ourselves that the commitment taken a very long time ago of $100 billion was only achieved last year. Take the second dimension. There are two important progress which have been made in Baku. One is that the 100 has been increased to 300 billion. The sad part, of course, is that the 100 billion was all in grants. This 300 billion is a mix of grants and loans, which has further deteriorated the debt servicing ability of large parts of Africa, which really require their problems to be addressed. So if you do a mix of not grants, but you do a mix of grants and loans, and you blend it with the sources of multilateral development financing through multilateral development institutions, you run into a conundrum of what financing is required. So even as we applaud, let me take some ballpark figure. You know, when with Larry, we did the work on the restructuring of the multilateral development banks, we recognized three things. First, we recognized that the existing volumes of finance, both concessional and non-concessional, were less than 1/3 of what the world would need in an immediate context. Because if you do add the fact of what we expect from private capital, we roughly would need about $3 trillion a year, particularly in harnessing private capital. And one of the areas which we need to discuss is how do you and what kind of incentives on private capital would be necessary to unlock that huge potential which exists, which needs to be blended in public finance to be able to give you a credible financing mechanism. Now, India, of course, we know on renewable energy has reached 205 gigawatts as against our target of 500 gigawatts. By 2030, we have a hydrogen mission, which has got off to a credible start. We have, of course, subscribed to the Energy Conservation Act, which enables you to calibrate the carbon pricing, which are all very positive features. But nonetheless, in terms of the overall requirement for financing, we are far short. So I ask myself the following three questions. One, what shall we do, India as a whole, to achieve this very laudable objective of Atmanirbhar Bharat? Are our policies conducive for enabling this quest to be realized? I must say that I have to come to a mixed conclusion. Mixed conclusion for three reasons. We have an opportunity right now with a settled political leadership, a leadership committed to the goals which we were one of the founders, if not the founder of the Global Solar Alliance. We played a very active role both in Glasgow and, of course, played in the Paris Pact. So we have a great opportunity. We have a great opportunity, and I will make 4 proposals for the consideration of the authorities. First and foremost, unlike other countries, there is no uniformity of entities and agencies which are dealing with climate. This is not only on account of a federal structure, the central government, the state government, the third tier of governance, but the multiplicity of organizations and entities which are dealing with issues of climate. So the first is, in my view, can you harmonize to be able to have 1 or 2 coordinative entities at a national level to be able to bring convergence in the diversity of policies? Look, the fact remains that foreign investors would like coherence, consistency, and stability in your policies on climate. Now, the fact that there are too many organizations and entities dealing with it detracts from this philosophy. We have a Ministry of Environment which is doing fantastic work. We have Ministry of Renewable Energy which is doing great work. But you have a separate ministry for coal, which is not necessarily aligned with the Ministry of Renewable Energy. You have a separate ministry that deals with areas where the carbon intensity is deeply embedded in terms of the various factors. You have, of course, the state government, and you have the third tier. So I think that the first is to have a holistic view on a credible set of entities and agencies which would deal with issues of climate and climate-related activity, including the ones who are discharging the very skillful obligations on diplomatic engagement at multiple levels on issues pertaining to climate. So the coherence and convergence of organization and entities would be, in my view, a very, very important part. Suman, you mentioned about the fact that we have an opportunity where the PLI is playing a very important role in harnessing domestic capability. I think that we need to extend the PLI specifically to issues of decarbonization. And decarbonization, I think, is a feature which is right there on the anvil, and we would be well advised not to really underestimate the issues arising out of decarbonization. So can we extend the PLI to issues of all energy-intensive activity and towards decarbonization? Along with this, in green hydrogen production, where we have taken some important initiatives, we have set apart 1,900 crores, which in my view, when harnessed with private capital, should make a substantial difference on the issues of the ability of national hydrogen mission, but we need to scale that up with further incentives on how that mission can be furthered. The fourth, in my view, is what are our ambitions as we move to Brazil for the COP30. Some of these things I have mentioned in my earlier remarks, but we would be far better equipped if by then we are able to put together a coherent point of view by constituting perhaps what I propose a National Environment Council. A National Environment Council of center and states under the very decisive leadership of the Prime Minister, which can put together these entities which are at the moment in multiple ways, center, states, private sector, scientists and technologists, to be able to put together a coherent policy as we move forward over the next 10 years. And I say this, that this is the correct time to do so, because the global uncertainties, looking at what is likely or may happen with far-reaching changes maybe in a year's time, this is the right time to be able to coherently put together our national council which can look at the problems of environment and environment-related issues in a holistic way. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Shri N.K. Singh ji. Now may I request Ms. Meenakshi Lekhi. Ms. Meenakshi Lekhi is country's former External Affairs Minister. She's part of CIU's founding team, and now she's back with CIU as Board of Governors. Ma'am, mic is yours, and she's also convener of Bharat Climate Forum.
Respected Mr. N.K. Singh, Ashwini ji, Suman's coming back, ladies and gentlemen. Pleasure and honor being here. A lot is happening in Delhi. And one of the important things is at a most opportune time, we are discussing energy and energy transitions in Delhi. Considering all the free yojanas which are going on, but don't know how to actually give free electricity to people, there is no thought and no thinking. And that's why this particular commitment becomes so very important. That when we are talking, we are dealing with pollution, we are dealing with energy crisis, and we are dealing with extra demand being put on cities specifically. How do we transition and how do we manage, including water shortage, and the biggest lesson in sustainability and smart cities. Smart cities are not the ones which are having smart meters, but smart cities are the ones which deal with energy in most efficient manner. And for making Delhi a smart city, I think the transition has become very, very important. I'm very happy to see all my friends in the audience today, and they will be speaking, and I'm looking forward to listening to all the wise people. When it comes to India, I must say that India is one country which has actually showcased to the world how energy specifically and sustainability need to be collated. We are the 1/6 of humanity, 1.35 billion people, and our contribution to the carbon footprint is about 0.19 tons per capita per person, and which goes to show that it is producing the minimalistic footprints. Now, that doesn't mean the people's level of living does not need to transition. Even that transition needs to happen. So most countries which have transitioned into green energy are the ones whose MNCs have already contributed to global warming and climate change. But India is the only country which has transitioned without contributing that much on their part and still is working towards transitioning completely. We are the only G20 country which is committed itself to the self-disdained goals, and we have reached and we are about to reach in terms of 30-35% renewable, in terms of solar, in terms of wind. We are 4th and 5th respectively. We are transitioning constantly. We have, I'm very happy to see in the audience people who are actually transitioning in terms of back-end linkages when it comes to solar manufacturing. So it's a great opportunity for all of us to put ourselves together, because even in terms of resilience, supply chain resilience, in terms of economic resilience, in terms of greater job opportunities, in terms of investment and returns of investment, in terms of sustainability, this is a great moment. What's happening in the country, and in the world, it's a really great moment, that how non-fossil transitions can actually contribute to people's health, people's well-being, sustainable environment. But at the same time, the narratives are equally important. What I sometimes wonder is that India's contribution on global platform when it comes to energy transitions, I won't sit on my laurels, but at the same time has been great. And commitment has also been great, but somewhere the narrative is what is missing. The narrative is, oh, India refused to sign on the dotted line, instead of narrative being, this is what India has achieved. So climate diplomacy is also about correct verbalization. So verbalization has to be, whichever media we may choose, the verbalization of the right policy initiatives which government has taken, Surya Ghar Yojana to solar transition, which Assam is undertaking, Northeast is undertaking, several other areas which are working on off-the-grid connectivity, smart grids, has to be far more. I feel we are, as Mr. N.K. Singh said, the glass is half full, even from a very critical perspective. We have done a fantastic job. We still need to up our game, whether it is batteries, it's extracting the right metal from right places, it is means of mining. And in fact, when this morning only, everybody's covering how the miners got inside the mine, and I feel very sorry for them. I feel very sorry for the families who, in any case, suffer in all such circumstances. But for sustaining ourselves, for sustainability, certain principles globally are incorrect. And why I would say that while firing coal is looked down upon, but gasification is not looked down upon. Is it not the time that India should discuss about gasification of coal? And is it not the time that people who are talking about cooperation should also talk about energy conservation to every other aspect? Time is up. I'll speak at the right opportune moment. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be hearing Ms. Milakshi Lekhi later in the evening as well. She'll be heading the foreign policy aspect of panel discussions. With this, we are concluding with the inaugural session. I am thanking the sponsors of this event, Renew Power, Renew, then UPL, Vikram Solar, Vakrangi from Bombay, then Tata Motors, Seki, Adani, Avada, SML. Plus, we also have a platform of our knowledge partners who are curating of some of the excellent roundtables which are happening in the Sankhya and Kalinga halls. If some of you are interested in listening to those questions, there is a heads up that Chatham House rules apply there. You can't quote anybody outside those rooms. You can hear the conversation, but you can't record or you can't take photographs. There is a list of roundtables which are dealing with the technical issues, right from the all 6 aspects as Jagjit was mentioning. So you can have the list. If you have interest, you can contact Jagjit or Richa. They can help you in understanding which hall those roundtables would be. And with this, may I thank Ashwini ji, may I thank Suman ji, Meenakshi ji, and N.K. Singh ji. And you know, Meenakshi ji's commitment for this cause is that you can understand there is elections going on in Delhi. She represents Delhi BJP, and she is extremely busy with her political commitments, but she took her time out, and she is giving us not only the inaugural address, but also helped us in curating the entire program. and leading the foreign policy aspect. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you, N.K. Singh ji. Thank you, Ashwini ji. So with power-packed inaugural session,